Hello, everyone. This is your host, alexbalgood, and this is Leap of Health. And today we have Ashley Malik. She's a health and wellness coach, also a certified mindset coach. And we're going to be talking about the anti-inflammatory diet. Before we dive into that, so popular and everybody's looking at it on their feeds and social media and all that, tell us a little bit about yourself and how do you decide to go into this wellness world?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Alex. I'm super excited to be here and excited that everyone's tuning in today. I am Ashley Malik and I live in Denver, Colorado. I'm a mom, which is my primary responsibility in life. And I have two kiddos. I've got one who's 22 and another one who's 5. So my kids are 17 years apart, which is a really
Wow.
big age gap, but I love it. And I am a health and wellness coach. I do have a certification in mindset coaching. And really what I do is I help moms, busy moms who are in midlife, to lose weight with an anti-inflammatory diet that is also family friendly. I have found in my own journey and in my coaching work that women often have a lot of the puzzle pieces. They hear, oh, I'm supposed to eat this, or I should work out this way. They don't know how to put all the things together for lasting, lifelong health and
Mhm.
weight loss. A lot of women start with saying, I want to lose weight. But really, the trick is to find a way to stay healthy throughout our lives. And so that's exactly what I do. I was on a journey, I can tell you more about it, but I was on a journey through my own health and was able to lose 55 pounds following an anti-inflammatory diet. And what I did in that time was develop an approach that makes it really easy for moms who are at home cooking for family members, who are eating, I like to call it conventional foods. They're eating the gluten, the dairy, all the things.
Mhm.
So my approach helps moms to make sure that they can make one meal and still eat anti-inflammatory, feed their family, and everyone gets what they need. So it's a fun approach.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially I feel like moms have so many things to do like all the time. Especially, I mean, I'm not a mom, but I could see how taking care of another human being, it's a big responsibility. And,
Yep.
and we're talking about school and homework, and they have to, take showers and make sure they're fed and they're drinking water and the house, and if they work and all these other things. So I think, yeah, definitely when it comes to moms, there's so many things that sometimes a lot of us tend to forget and not understand that it's not like they're just one thing, like they're just a mom and it's like a one thing deal. There's so
Yeah.
many things that they're doing at once that probably we just never think about it. So,
Don't
so
think
that's
about it. And a lot of the women that I work with are very high achieving women. They're in the corporate world and they want to work on their career and they want to, they're their own independent being. So how do they take care of themselves and take care of their family and be healthy? It's a lot to think about. It's definitely a lot.
Yes, yes, for sure. And
Yeah.
not to, make less of the dads that are also out there. I'm sure there's a lot of single dads that also struggle being mom, dad, and everything in between. And I think also, if you're a male listening to this, I think you'll get a lot of good tips and things that might apply to you too. So I think it's cool too that we're talking about this topic today.
Yeah.
So, tell us what for people that have seen it online or someone in their family or a friend, they're like, yeah, I'm doing this anti-inflammatory diet. But
Yes.
what is it? What is it? Let's start from there.
Yeah.
What is it? And
Yeah.
yeah, let's just dive into that.
Absolutely. So it is this huge buzzword that we hear, and it's a lot of people think, oh, anti-inflammatory, it just means like gluten-free, or they might see anti-inflammatory and they think, oh, that's like Mediterranean, and so eating, salmon and tomatoes and olives and that kind of thing. And it kind of is all of those things. what I like to say is that anti-inflammatory diet does two things. First of all, it provides your body with whole foods. So things like veggies, fruits, lean proteins, foods that do not promote inflammation. So that's number one. The other thing that it does is it provides foods that actually improve your gut health and your overall health. So you probably hear a lot about like kimchi, sauerkraut, prebiotics, probiotics, those types of things. And so for an anti-inflammatory diet to really be effective, and it can be used for so many things, and it's not just women, not just men, like it can be used for everybody. It really is important to make sure that you're taking out the things that can cause inflammation, like gluten, dairy, soy, corn. Some people are really sensitive. I'm one of those people to what are called nightshades. And nightshades are things like tomatoes and jalapeno and spicy peppers, eggplants. So it can incorporate a lot of different foods. You might have to take a lot of different things out, but essentially it's really looking at those whole foods that are going to support your body and not cause more inflammation, and foods that will help your gut to fight off any further inflammation.
Mm-hmm. And that takes me to my next question. People
Yes.
might think, well, I don't feel inflamed. How
Yep.
does inflammation looks like? Because I
What?
feel like everybody, you might ask a lot of people, and they're like, "Well, I'm fine. I don't
Yep.
know. They don't know exactly what inflammation looks like, and they might be inflamed, but they have no idea." So
Yeah.
how does people know, like, oh, you actually might have some sort of inflammation in the body?
Yep. So one way that I love to tell people, because everybody experiences this, when you eat a really hot pepper, like a serrano or something that's really spicy, and your eyes start to water and your nose starts to run and you kind of get congested, that is actually inflammation in your body. And so what we can do is look at sort of those symptoms and say, okay, what else are we seeing? So sometimes, like I know for me in my own personal journey, a lot of my inflammation looked like an inability to gain or to lose weight. I was gaining weight very, very quickly. And it wasn't like I was eating a ton of food, but I felt like I would look at food and I would just put on a couple of pounds.
Mm.
Brain fog is incredibly common, and we can talk about it later, but there are some really interesting studies being done around dementia and the impact of inflammation on the brain and how that either leads to dementia or makes dementia symptoms even worse. Also things like skin rashes. I know when I used to eat gluten, I would get a rash down the entire side of my body, just all of a sudden, because I would have eaten, a muffin or something like that. It can look like hair loss, um, really like dry skin, uncomfortable skin. So there's a lot of physical manifestations of what that inflammation looks like: bloating, gas, really not being regular. Those are all indications, like your body's sending up these red flags saying,
Mhm.
something is wrong here. We
Yeah.
need to figure out what the problem is. And you're right, because a lot of people will say, I don't think I have any inflammation, but yet they're taking antacids 4 times a week because they have really bad heartburn after they eat. That's inflammation. That's exactly what is happening. Or, I don't have inflammation, but man, I sure do get a really bad headache after I have taco night, and I never really understand why. That is inflammation that's happening in the body. So it's not just bloating, which we often think is like the thing, like, oh, I'm puffy, I'm inflamed. It's so
Mhm.
much more than that.
Yeah, exactly. And those are such a great points for you to tell us, like it's not just bloating, it's not just like being a little irregular or things like that. It can show in your skin, it can show on how you go about your day, because sometimes we think like, oh, I'm just tired, I can't really think straight, I'm like very distracted. Uh but it could be caused by all these inflammation that you might be holding on in your body. And I think this this is so important. And I think this anti-inflammatory diet is just another word, I think, to put it in, because a lot of people, they're like, well, I don't want to go in a diet. And we're not want to put it in that perspective, in that sense of like, we're putting on you on a diet. It's more of like, learn how to eat better and better, whole foods that are not gonna inflame you. I know, like, personally, I love a spicy food.
Yep.
Like, I love it.
Yep.
Every day, all day long, right? But at some point, I have to be like, all right, I have to, like, stop eating this, because
Oh,
it will cause a lot of inflammation. And
yeah.
so it's just kind of like, be mindful of those things, I think.
Very much so. And it's an interesting thing that you bring up, because I just sort of in my journey, I really learned three pretty significant lessons. And one of those lessons was that it's so important to understand how you feel about the food that you're eating. And it's really easy for us. We are in a diet in the United States anyway. We're very much in a diet driven culture. We see this with the turnover of the new year and New Year's resolutions and gyms and diets. And you're so right, because the thing about anti-inflammatory is making this mental shift to say, instead of, gosh, I really wish I could have that piece of pie or cake or bread or whatever it is, telling yourself, I really feel so good when I don't eat gluten. I can't wait to wake up tomorrow morning and feel amazing. Like, it's a very different mind shift. And it's not, we get so stuck in, Whole30, or just try this thing for 30 days and lose 5 pounds in 30 days, whatever it is. And anti-inflammatory is truly a lifestyle. And that's something else I do with my clients. We work on anti-inflammatory fitness, because running and heavy cardio and workouts and that kind of thing, that is causing more inflammation in your body. And so it truly is a way to look holistically at, how do you heal your body, calm everything down, and make it feel good, so that your body can be amazing for you, so that you can, perform at work at your top level, so that you can be a great mom, so that you can be a great partner. It's really shifting your mindset. And we're not used to doing that yet. Which is
Hmm.
I'm trying to change that conversation. And I think you are too. Like, it's a lifestyle, and it's better that way.
Yeah, definitely. I feel we get so used to, of like, things need to be fast. So we're like, let's do this for 2 weeks and then lose 10 pounds and then I'll be fine.
Yep.
But I feel like the more we understand that, I say it all the time. Probably all my listeners are tired of me saying it, but I will say it again. We're a whole system. It's not just your tummy, it's not just muscles, it's not just your feelings or your brain or anything like that. We're a whole system. You have to address everything. How you feel about food, what are the foods that you like, why are you eating certain foods, and why are you attracted to eat certain foods at a certain times. So I think the more we love ourselves and understand that, okay, you know, if I go if I'm overweight or I want to lose weight, but then I go and I do crazy cardio, as you mentioned, that's just going to create more inflammation from what I already have in my body.
Yeah.
So I think little things to understand that, and it's great now, right? Because also too, I feel like it sounds really good. If I want to lose weight and I don't have to do that crazy cardio,
Right?
that sounds excellent to me.
I
If
know.
if you're telling me like, hey, don't do that crazy cardio, it's not gonna even work for you. Go for
Yep.
a walk or maybe lift a couple of, not heavy weights.
Yep.
Something different than that. I think if we start seeing things in that way, I think it will be actually feeling a lot much, better.
I think so too. It's in my journey. spent about 3 years where I felt bad. I was exhausted. I kept gaining weight no matter what I tried. And interestingly, at the time, there were a couple things going on. One, I was working at a tech startup here in Denver, and easily 60 hours a week. I was traveling. It was a very high stress, high paced job. A lot of the people I worked with, no offense to our younger listeners, but they were like 20. I could have been their mom. And it got to this point where I was like, gosh, I'm feeling inadequate next to these 20-year-olds. The other thing that I was doing at that time was training for a sprint triathlon. And so I remember I would go to the gym and I would train and do different things for about 2.5 hours. I would come home and I needed about a 4-hour nap. And if I had known back then, I mean, that was 10, 12, 13 years ago, had I known then what I know now, that I was literally grinding my body into the ground. And every hard run that I was doing, every, long swim that I had to do, because it was a triathlon, like I'm trying to train for all the things, the amount of stress that I had in needing to perform at my job in order to feel like I was 20 and I was not, I was twice their age. It was doing was causing damage. And so for me at the time, it was about 3 years that I saw every doctor imaginable. And I saw an endocrinologist and my general practitioner. I even saw a cardiologist because I was having like these weird heart palpitations. And it wasn't until I found a functional medicine practitioner that she specialized in menopause. And I'm like, well, I'm 39. I don't think this is it, but I don't know what else it could be. And so she was able to do a lot of testing and asked me hundreds of questions. I'd never had a doctor ask me that many questions. And as it turns out, I did have Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism, so thyroid issues. But interestingly, I also had severe nutrient deficiencies. So they couldn't even register vitamin D in my blood. It just wasn't there. So when I look back at all of that journey, I was trying to perform well in my career. And at the time I was a single mom and trying to do the best I could in life in general. And all it was doing was causing things to just be worse and worse and worse. And so now, yes, when I tell women, I'm like, I lost 55 pounds and it was not because I did cardio every day. It was because I actually took care of my body with the food that I ate and the walks that I went on and the breathing that I learned to do. That's what heals your body and gets you to the state of really feeling healthy. It's an anti-inflammatory everything. And it feels so good. Takes time. It does not happen. Like you said, we want things so fast, but it takes time. I mean, it took me years, but once I got there, now I don't ever want to go back because I feel so good. It's 5 o'clock right now where I am. And I'm like, I have energy. I feel amazing. That was not me 10 years ago at all.
Yeah, I think too we've been confined to feeling not well, and it's like our normal that we don't know anything else. So that's like adding to, wanting to get a quick fix and then be like, okay, I'm gonna do this for a month and then that's it. But I feel like the more we do little changes, I think the better we do at a whole life change.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for me, this is where the mindset piece comes in. And I love infusing the mindset coaching into everything I do, because what happens is I think a lot of people that I talk with, they either look on the internet and they're like, I don't know, I found, like a 7-day meal plan or a 30-day thing, and I just want to do it quick. And then they realize that either that doesn't work, or they start going out and trying to find a lot of other things, and then they're overwhelmed. And so from a mindset perspective, we don't know what to do. And so our brain sort of freezes and we go into this like paralysis mode, and then we don't do anything. And then a couple weeks goes by and we feel bad again, and we try the cycle again, and it doesn't work. again. And so it's building those little habits, the things that are sustainable. Walk for 5 minutes a day, drink one extra glass of water a day. It's the small things that will get us there over time. And again, we're not used to doing that as humans. We want everything quick. And in our age of technology and social media, everything is so immediate. But all of that is causing us to feel this like anxiety and stress, and that increases our cortisol and that increases our inflammation. Like none of it's good. So we just need to slow down and breathe.
Exactly. What are some of the things that you start your clients with? Anyone that wants to has a crazy life,
Yep.
kids, school, work, they want to succeed in their career. They're still, they're not old, or even if they are a little bit, I don't think, well, that old word, I don't know. I just felt like no one is old. They feel old. But how do you start them? What are some of the things that we should think about to start some of those live changes?
Yep, absolutely. So I think one of the struggles is, again, people go onto the internet and they're like, I'm going to try this big plan and I'm going to do all these things and grocery shop for all of these new ingredients. That to me is a really bad way to start, because if you pick up a traditional anti-inflammatory meal plan, you're going to see things on there that I would be willing to guess most people do not eat on a regular basis. And your family probably doesn't eat that either. Whether you have kids or not, a lot of anti-inflammatory is not common to the way that we eat. So it's helpful to pick 1 or 2 dinners in a week that you can make anti-inflammatory. Keep the rest the same, because what you'll find by doing that is you have the familiarity of recipes you've made before, things that taste familiar. You're only trying 2 nights a week that tastes a little bit different. Another thing that people can do is, and I help clients to do this, I do this on my Instagram as well. I'll do like an anti-inflammatory makeover for your favorite meal. So if someone has a favorite meal that's like spaghetti and meatballs or macaroni casserole or whatever it is, we can work together to figure out, how do we make this favorite meal that everybody likes a little bit more anti-inflammatory, so that, or dividing it so that some of it's anti-inflammatory, some of it is just more conventional. But again, it's that familiarity of not going all in all at once. That's not sustainable. And our body gets scared, our brain gets scared, and it's like, nope, this is too much change all at once. And then another thing I think is not nutrition based, but it's really just moving your body, is walking. It's the easiest thing to do, whether you have a treadmill or you can walk outside around your neighborhood. 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day. It's such a really smart way to get started. And when you get a little bit of vitamin D and you take a deep breath, you put your phone away, you come back feeling a little bit more energized and then motivated to maybe try something different for dinner, try a different type of salad for lunch. Just taking those small, like you were saying, those small actions a couple of times a week is really going to get you far in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And I love that too that you mentioned. Just add a little bit and they kind of like do everything the same. Because I feel too, if you tried this, you know, anti-inflammatory recipe, and then you're gonna feel different than if later on during the week you're making mac and cheese and potatoes with steak or
Mhm.
something like that. So I
Mhm.
felt too that gives you that perspective of like, how do I feel when I ate, I don't know, a Greek salad with a steak, right? And whatever, and olive oil and all these things. How did I feel on Monday when I ate that? And then Friday I had same steak, but now I added potatoes and I added my favorite mac and cheese.
Right.
How do you feel? I think that that naturally starts gives you different perspective of like, wow, on Monday when I made that recipe that I have never ate before with that thing called quinoa, I didn't feel bad later. Like I felt, I felt full. I was not super like food coma. I felt good. But then on Friday, when you eat, all these other yummy things, how did you feel about it? Were you like super stuffed that you were like, I think I'm gonna have food coma or something like that? I think those little things, um,
Yeah.
sound more doable. So I think that's great. I never thought about it, but I think it's so good to just start like that. Don't change anything else, just little things. One thing.
Little things. And it, again, then it doesn't feel scary in the kitchen. But this is funny because this is a conversation my husband and I have. He always tells me, Ashley, you're so in tune with your body. And I'm like, I am, but I think we can all learn to listen to what our body is saying. And so, as we talked about earlier, what are some of those red flags and flares that our body is sending up to say, my body does not like this. I'm recognizing that I had steak and biscuits and mashed potatoes last night, and I woke up and my joints were stiff in the morning. Isn't that odd? So learning to clue into our bodies. I think I'm not a huge advocate for like food journaling. I do think it's important that we are tracking lightly what it is that we're eating. But I do think as you start a journey like this, it's really helpful to journal, how do I feel? How does my body feel? How is my energy? So that you're starting to pick up on those cues and those red flags that your body is sending up. Do you see less of them? Do you feel more energetic? Do you feel lighter or maybe a little less anxious? Those are all good signs that inflammation is actually subsiding. That's what we
Mhm.
want.
I like that. I actually like that very much. I am not big on you know, doing the whole dairy food thing. And when they're like, write what you eat for 10 days. I mean, I know what it is for. I know it's important to kind of like see the ingredients, but I am pretty busy. So sometimes, when I'm trying to change something in my diet or trying to get healthier or something like that, and I go to certain practitioners that are like, write all this down for like 2 weeks. I'm like, bro, I barely have time to come home and remember my name.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
think,
I'd rather people take time to tune into their body than take the time to write down every single thing. Yeah, I understand functionally what the purpose of that is, but I think we can learn a lot more by listening to what our body is saying and making some pivots. So maybe you have a little note on your refrigerator that said, my body didn't feel well after I ate 3 pieces of pizza, which for most people, it's not a lot in volume, but maybe the cheese, the gluten, the hot peppers on the pizza, all of those things might not have made you feel well. So cluing into how we feel and the signals that our body is giving us is really, that's going to be more beneficial, I think, in the long run. I'm really big on teaching people how to do this sustainably. So I have a program, it's called Commit 66. And I kind of joke that like the first 4 weeks of the program, it's a 10-week program. The first 4 weeks of the program, I give clients what they want. They want meal plans. They want food lists. They want to know, just tell me what I should eat, Ashley. The next 4 weeks, what we do is I give them what I know they need. And we talk a lot about the mindset around the food that we're eating, why we're choosing to make this more of a sustainable lifestyle, and what we do when we get stuck. Because the reality is you can follow meal plans forever. I want to work myself out of a job always. I want to teach people how to understand my body is saying this. I don't feel well when I eat that. I didn't feel well after my CrossFit workout. Like, understand what your body is saying so you can make pivots, because as we get older, our bodies will change and they will need different things. And when I'm 60, I'll need different things than I do today. But if you have sort of those foundational skills, that basic understanding of what nutrition does for your body, what the right workouts do for your body, then you'll be able to be successful forever. And that's my goal, is that lifelong sustainability. It's not a diet. It's not 30 days. It's for life. And I want it to work forever.
Yes, for sure. What are some of the anti-inflammatory foods that you're trying to introduce for those beginners that they're like, I don't understand anything about food. I just what tastes good and that's it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually developed a meal plan that includes things like bacon burgers and quesadillas. There's a chicken satay in there. There's a meatball, an Italian meatball dish, because these are all things that sound very similar to what we're eating today. With anti-inflammatory, the biggest challenge I've seen is removing gluten, and I advocate removing dairy as well. And then adding vegetables. People are resistant to their veggies. I just don't understand. It's really, it's a thing. People don't like to eat their vegetables. So I think adding in as many whole foods, I try and encourage everyone to shop from the perimeter of your grocery store, which we've heard before, but it's, you want to eat as few things that are in a box, a package. You want to be eating them in their whole state as much as possible. And for the most part, that covers your anti-inflammatory foods. You can add things like I had mentioned earlier, sauerkraut, kimchi, things that are going to increase your gut health and make you feel a little bit better. But really, it's stripping out the processed foods. And I think this is why people are resistant to it, because it feels like I have to give up all this stuff. But really, you get to eat, amazing foods. If you can try and get in 20 to 30 different fruits and vegetables in a week, you're going to find that you have a ton of variety in what you eat. Radishes and peaches and asparagus, there's so many choices. So sticking to those whole foods is really going to be your best bet.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think too, because I think this whole word of like anti-inflammatory, it's too much sometimes for people and they're like, I don't understand it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what food to eat. But it's so simple as you said. If it's not in a package, meaning that it's not in a box, it's not a meal that it's already prepared for you.
Right, right.
It's not something that it has like a million ingredients on the box. Uh,
Mhm.
it's just so simple, right? Go stick to something that you need to prepare. Take out all these things that come in a box, such as pastas, chips,
Yes,
sodas, anything that comes in a package,
right.
anything that has a brand.
Yes.
Try to just stay away from it, even
Right.
just for like a day, for a weekend. Let's try it for a weekend. Try for a weekend. On
Yep.
the weekend, tell yourself today I'm gonna eat a meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner that it's not gonna come in no package.
Right.
Unless you're getting some sort of bag to put your apples, your fruits, or whatever, then that's okay. But we're talking about something that's already packaged. Do not stay away from it for one day and see that actually difference in money too. Because I don't think a lot of people realize that if you get, I don't know, some radishes, some beets, maybe some cucumbers, some lettuce,
Yep.
maybe like 5 or 6 vegetables, and you get like a little. Also, don't buy like 3 pounds of each. Buy small quantities because these are things that are not gonna last you forever because you're gonna just forget them in the fridge and they're gonna go bad, right? So buy a few of them, buy a little bit, and
Mhm.
even six vegetables, 6 fruits, you will spend a lot less
Right.
than
Right.
when you go on the other aisles and you're like, oh, I need those crackers for snacks. I need that. I need those chips. I need some of that. Let me get some flour tortillas from there. Like all these other things that are a lot more expensive than if you
Yeah.
actually just buy fruits and vegetables for just like a weekend. And you
Yeah.
know, if you really are like me, a meat lover, just literally buy maybe get some liver, get some I don't know, some lean chicken, some ground beef or something. But even if you do that, combine the whole thing with as opposed to if you buy all these packaged food, you will be spending a lot less.
You'll spend so much less. And it's, the packaged foods, they're filled with so many things that
Mhm.
promote inflammation. These seed oils and these gums and thickeners, sugar. Sugar is in everything. When you start to look, one of the things I do encourage people to do is just for a couple of days, and again, not big on food tracking, but for a couple of days, add up all the added sugars that you have. So if you have ketchup, for example, and you like I like my ketchup, I'll be honest, but I use a paleo ketchup now. But if you use maybe 4 or 5 tablespoons of ketchup, you're looking at an extra 20 grams of added sugar in ketchup. And so, like, when you start to look at, but again, this is where I think it gets a little bit scary for people, or they shy away and they're like, I don't know. And I know you had mentioned liver. I'm not a person who's going to cook fresh liver. I know how to do it. I've done it. It's just not something I'm going to do. And there's no way in the planet that I will get my family to eat it. I first started this journey, my nutritionist handed me this packet and she said, you should be cooking liver 2 to 3 times a week and cooking your own bone broth. And I'm like, I'm sorry, sister, but nobody has time for that. I do not. I like working a full-time job, a single mom at the time. There was no way I could do that. And so that's where I try and come in with some things like, I can show you how to make a quesadilla that is anti-inflammatory. How cool is that? Your family can have the quesadilla that works for them. I can have you make a quesadilla that works for you. You don't feel like you're missing out, and you don't feel like you're eating something that's so far off the beaten path, but it's all fresh veggies. If you're going to put a sauce on it, I've got recommendations for fresh sauces. Like bitchin sauce is one of my favorite things. I probably use it
Mhm.
every day. It's just an almond-based sauce. And so there are alternatives, but really getting started, I think the trick is shop the perimeter of your grocery store, find the things that are not in a package, not in a box, but also find the things that feel familiar enough. Because if you don't like what you're eating, if you don't eat salads every day, and all of a sudden your meal plan is eat salads every day, you're going to last 3 days. So the trick is finding a way to marry what you like and what you will tolerate until you learn to take that next step and that next step and the next step and keep adding on.
Yes, for sure. And it's not about like it's not like at all. I think once you start finding like those foods that you like, those whole foods that you're like, I never know I like radishes this much. I never know I like the beets. Things like that that are so full of goodness for you. I think that's when you start making changes. But as we said, little changes, one thing at a time. You don't have to throw away everything that you have in the pantry. I mean, if you want to, you can. But if it's if it's gonna give you a heartbreak, don't do it. Just
Yes.
go little by little because also too, we were talking about the feelings, right? And how we feel towards things. We want to still love what we eat. We want to still feel good about when we sit down and have these meals. You don't want to have in no moment, in no instance, feeling like, oh my God, why? Why am I doing this? Why am I eating this boring, crazy salad that I don't even know this ingredient? I've never seen this before in my
Yeah.
whole life.
Yeah. Like, bok choy or something like, people, the things that people are not eating regularly. And I think my husband is from a different country, and we talk a lot about how food is a cultural binder for almost every culture. And so when you say no to food, whether it's your mom's Christmas coffee cake or my husband's mom's, tikka masala, whatever it is, we feel like we're not a part of our culture, our family. We kind of lose this sense of belonging. And so I think that's another reason why people really struggle to adopt a lifestyle like this, because it's different than what people in their household or their community are doing. And that's where we have to go in and say, why does it matter to me to spend the holidays bringing some of my own foods to add to the communal table that I can eat, instead of just giving in and eating the things that my family or my community are eating? It's worth it for us, for our bodies, but we have to get there first. We have to get there. And that's really, I try to help people get there, because it's that starting that's hard. And I think people can do it for about 10 days, 14 days. And after that, it starts to wear on them. And so the trick is finding, like we keep saying, those little sustainable ways to keep it going for the long term.
Mm-hmm. How does this anti-inflammatory diet looks like when people are actually they have diabetes, heart problems, things
Mhm.
like that are based kind of like root in diet? How do you help those individuals?
That's a great question. I do not work specifically with people who have diabetes, because I think that that is diet based, but it's also blood sugar based.
Mhm.
It's slightly different. Anti-inflammatory can help most all of us, whether we have diabetes, any sort of autoimmune issue, heart issues. My dad has Alzheimer's, and so I'm working with him to reduce sodium and to actually transition to an anti-inflammatory diet. What anti-inflammatory does is not only does it reduce that inflammation, but because we are eating probably a wider variety of fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, your gut health is actually changing. Your gut microbiome, you're getting a higher increase of really beneficial bacteria. And the more beneficial bacteria you have, as long as it's balanced, the easier it is for you to stay healthy and to not, get colds, that you can ward off some of those things that come across. So diabetics, they're probably doing a lot more to work around blood sugar, which is more based in like carbohydrates and some different things like that. But inflammation is still an issue. And
Mhm.
it's really important to know. I'm a big advocate for testing to see what's going on in our bodies, because I think we can guess a lot about why I have a rash up and down my body when I eat gluten, or why I'm getting constant headaches, or why I'm constantly fatigued. It could be a lot of different things. And so if you are a person and you find that you're regularly tired every single afternoon, or you're regularly waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you cannot figure out why, there is a lot of benefit to doing some blood testing, some gut testing, to figure out what the challenge is. This was the biggest shift for me in going from conventional medicine to functional medicine. Because with conventional medicine, for my rash, they're giving me a cream to put on my skin, and that did nothing. But being able to look at what that root cause is so valuable, because then you can sort of figure out, what kinds of things do I need to tweak with my anti-inflammatory diet that will make me feel even better, that will help reduce the inflammation even more?
Mhm. Yeah, I think definitely doing some testing, know what's going on in the body. It's uh it's super important to for people that are not actually not feeling well. Um,
Yeah.
yes.
And it's hard, because again, my husband and I have this conversation a lot. He's incredibly supportive of what I do. I mean, I went from thinking gluten-free was kind of a scam like 15 years ago, to now I drink diatomaceous earth once a month and clear my body out and don't have any gluten. And I'm doing all these things that I used to think were weird. And it's, again, it's a mindset shift to say, I want to feel better. And instead of taking that Tums or putting a cream on or taking an extra magnesium or whatever the buzz supplement is of the month, it's really deciding to value what your body is telling you, how you can understand that, whether it's testing or journaling, sort of how my body feels when I eat, when I work out. That's a big shift for a lot of people, but that's the most valuable shift you can make, because as you do that little by little, every day, you're going to start feeling better. You're going to start knowing how to turn the tide for you. And that's a lot of power to know that, like, I'm in control of how I feel every single day by what I eat and how I move my body. That is right there is like the foundation to lifelong health. I think that's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. And just take those little moments of like, I'm doing this little thing. I'm gonna just walk one block. I'm gonna add this one water, glass of water. I'm gonna add a new vegetable today. I'm gonna add a new fruit. Because I know it could be like very difficult for a lot of people, but I feel if we just start just with one very little thing, that's all it takes for you to, you know, literally feel a lot better.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly you will start to feel better when you start to eat differently. And
Mhm.
I think, again, our brain is like, nope, this is different. It feels scary. I don't want to go here. But if you eat differently for a couple of days, you'll notice you breathe a little lighter and you have a little more pep in your step. It's easier to get up in the morning. It happens quite quickly. And so if you can feel that and you recognize and learn how to tune into those signals that your body's sending you, it's a lot easier to then keep going and say, yeah, this is working for me. I feel better. I want to
Mhm.
keep going on this lifestyle.
Yeah. And if it feels like too much of like, oh no, I can't. I like what I do. I don't have time to change anything. Maybe just kind of like journal or just think about it. You don't have to like write it down. Think about how you feel at the end of the day. Once you go to bed, just pop out that question and be like, how did I feel today? Was that food good? Did I feel good? Or in the morning, how am I feeling today? And by all means, if whatever it is that you're doing and your answer was like, I feel amazing. I feel like my brain is like ready for all these million questions. I'm ready for life and this whole thing, then that's your answer. Then you're good. But if you woke up and you wanted to kill your neighbor or something like that, you know, we might have to ask a few more questions there. So everybody's journeys is different. We all feel differently. But I feel like that little thing that we just realized today of like, how am I feeling today? Realizing that not all the food is good for all of us, but this certain food might be good for you. No, and ask yourself, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? I think that's a very powerful question that probably no one is asking themselves, and they're just feeling like I'm tired, this I hate my job, blah blah.
Right.
But you know,
We like to blame it on a lot of external circumstances. And I think for me, this is the personal power that I've gained in my journey, is understanding that I actually am in control of how I feel every day. And for years, I wasn't. And I was in a really difficult first marriage, and there were a lot of things that were out of my control. My health, my life, my getting up in the morning, my attitude, it's all within my control. And if you can be honest with yourself, because I think it's easy for us to do that. We wake up and say, oh, yeah, I don't like my job, or, this happened, or like for us today, we had a blizzard and I had to get out and shovel this morning. We can blame it on a lot of other things, but really we are all in control. We all have to eat every day, and we are all in control of what we put in our mouth every day. So if we can make some good choices there, we actually just get further or closer and closer to having this lifelong health and energy. Just be honest with yourself when you check in every day. And And if you're not feeling great, you're in control. You can make a change.
Yes. And that's just like the best.
Yeah.
You are your own hero, so make it happen.
Make it happen.
Yes. I mean, this conversation has been amazing. I think it gave us a lot to think about it, to do like little changes here and there. If anyone wants to get in contact with you or has more questions about this anti-inflammatory diet, where can they find you?
Probably the best place is on Instagram. So you can find me at the Ashley Malik. You can also find me at ashleymalik.com. And yeah, come visit. I love to share recipes and great, easy hacks that you can use to make sure that you are having dinner on the table every night and eating anti-inflammatory and still feeling really amazing and like you're not missing out on anything in life. So come visit me. I'd love to see you.
Yes, and I will put all your information on the show notes so everybody can get in contact with you. For anybody else that would like to get in contact with me or find out more about my show, you can find me at alexbalgood.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, pretty much everywhere. Remember, my book is out. You can still buy it. It's on Amazon and Barnes& and Noble. It's called Parents Are Greatest Teachers. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Thank you for telling us all this amazing information. I'm inspired and ready to keep on eating healthier. Thank you, everybody, for listening today, and have an amazing day.